My boss told me to take the fall for $80,000 she had stolen, or she would make sure I never worked in this industry again. I had been her assistant for 2 years. Quiet, reliable, the one who fixed her mistakes and never asked for credit. When the company's auditors flagged irregular transfers from client accounts, she called me into her office, closed the door, and told me exactly how this was going to go. The transfers had been made using my login credentials on days I was technically logged in, because she had asked me weeks earlier to stay signed in on the shared finance terminal while she stepped out for meetings. I hadn't thought twice about it at the time. She had planned this for weeks. She told me if I just signed a statement admitting I made an error, a one-time mistake, the company would go easy on me. Maybe a warning, maybe I'd keep my job. But if I tried to point fingers at her instead, she had already prepared emails, timestamps, and a story that made me look desperate and dishonest. She smiled when she said it. She actually smiled. I went home that night and didn't sleep. Not because I didn't know the truth. I knew exactly what had happened. I was scared because she had 2 more years of seniority, friends in upper management, and a reputation as the department's golden employee. I had nothing but the truth, and I wasn't sure the truth would be enough. Then I remembered something. 8 months earlier, our IT department had rolled out new security software that logged keystroke patterns and screen activity for compliance purposes, something most employees had forgotten about the moment they clicked accept on the policy update. If the transfers had really been made by someone using my login, the system would have a record of exactly whose hands were on the keyboard at that moment, down to typing speed and mouse movement patterns. I wasn't sure it would hold up, but it was the only thing I had. I didn't tell her I knew this. I let her believe I was scared into silence. I signed nothing. I just said I needed a few days to think it over, and she relaxed, certain she had already won. The next morning, I didn't go to HR. I went straight to the auditors who had flagged the transfers in the first place, the ones from outside the company, the ones with no loyalty to her. I told them what she had said to me, word for word, and asked them to pull the keystroke and activity logs for the exact timestamps of every flagged transfer. It took 4 days. 4 days of sitting across from her in meetings, watching her act normal, watching her drop little comments about how this would all be over soon, as if she were doing me a favor. On the 5th day, she was called into a conference room for what she thought was a routine follow-up. I was asked to be there too, supposedly to provide context as her assistant. What she didn't know was that the auditors had already finished their report. The activity log showed her account logged into a personal device, making changes to my session permissions minutes before each transfer, every single time. The keystroke patterns weren't mine. They were hers. She started talking the moment the auditors opened their folder, trying to explain, trying to say it was a misunderstanding, that I must have shared my password, that someone was setting her up. Nobody in that room was buying it anymore. The data was right there, time-stamped, undeniable. Security walked her out 40 minutes later. Not me. Her. The same woman who had smiled at me across her desk and told me my future depended on staying quiet now. Couldn't even get someone to walk her to her car without an escort. I kept my job. The company actually promoted me into part of her old role, mostly because I was the only person on that team who hadn't panicked or covered for her once the truth started coming out. People like her count on one thing above everything else, that the people they threaten will be too scared to check if the threat is even real. She was so confident that I had nothing, that she never once considered I might already be holding the one thing that would end her. If someone ever tries to make you carry the weight of something you didn't do, don't argue with them in the moment. Go find the proof. The truth doesn't need you to raise your voice. It just needs time and someone patient enough to wait for it to surface.